The pale light of dawn was just beginning to stretch across New Shanghai, gilding the skyline's glass spires with a fragile promise of peace. Street vendors arranged their neon-lit carts along the canals, the gentle hum of maglev trams weaving. Between districts, in the sky above, morning swallows darted through the last wisps of fog, oblivious to the storm gathering at the edge of the solar system. Deep within the Global Observation Network's orbital command station, Dr. Aiko Chen felt the first tremor of unease. She stood before a vast holographic display, tracking the steady flow of data from the outer planets, 9,899 vessels, then 9,900. Each flicker of a dot on her screen represented an unknown ship, an anomaly that should not exist. Her heart pounded as she tapped her console, verifying coordinates, cross-checking gravitational signatures. All told the same story. Something had arrived. "Commander," she said, striving to keep her voice calm. Across the room, the station's operations chief, Lieutenant Amir Patel, glanced up from his console. "We've got 9,900 unidentified objects entering heliocentric orbit," Aiko reported, voice barely above a whisper. "And counting." Amir's brow furrowed. "Is it a false positive? Probe swarms? New deep space mining vessels?" Aiko exhaled. "No, they're energy signatures. They're active. Power levels far beyond anything in our database. They're moving together, like a fleet." A hush fell over the command deck as technicians froze in mid-keystroke. Outside the wide observation window, Earth's blue orb drifted in the void, calm and unaware. Aiko's knuckles whitened against the console. "We need to alert military command," she said. Within minutes, the situation briefed the International Defense Council. Captain Marcus Adler, veteran commander of the IDS Horus, received his orders in a hushed war room beneath Berlin's fortified bunker. The Council's holographic map pulsed red with the approaching swarm. "They're 24 million kilometers out," Marcus repeated, tracing their vector. "But they're accelerating." "Sir," his executive officer said, "we've scrambled the first wave of interceptors. 6th and 9th squadrons are en route to low Earth orbit." Marcus nodded, steeling himself. "Inform all regional fleets to launch, and prepare the thermal rails for full charge. If these are hostiles, we'll give them a warning they can't ignore." Back in New Shanghai, Aiko watched the blinking icons on her screen representing those same interceptors. As they ascended, the fleet's dreadnoughts and carriers came to life, hungry for the light of battle. But the invaders did not wait. At 07:14:23, local time, every satellite serving the planet's defense network lost signal in a simultaneous blackout. Ground stations went dark, communications jammed. From the command station's window, Aiko saw the first column of energy spiral down through the atmosphere like a falling star, only to flicker upon entry and erupt in a pulse that flattened half the city in an instant. The glass towers she had admired that very morning exploded in a storm of plasma and debris. Aiko staggered back. "They're using energy weapons," she murmured, voice trembling, "to disable us from orbit." Throughout the station, alarms blared as backup systems kicked in, but each redundancy failed in turn. The invaders had calculated every weakness. High above, the IDS squadrons arrived too late. With mechanical precision, thousands of darting drones swarmed the human fighters, silent as shadows, lethal as vipers. Plasma arcs lanced through the sky, immolating sleek interceptors before they could retaliate. Marcus Adler watched his wingman fall in flashing bursts. "Return to base, now!" he barked, but his own vessel shuddered as a plasma bolt tore through the starboard wing. He banked hard, debris trailing, and raced back toward Earth's upper atmosphere. On the ground, millions fled in panic. Streets became rivers of screaming humanity. Automated emergency shelters opened their steel jaws, guiding citizens to subground bunkers. Yet for every door that closed, another was swallowed by the invaders' columns, beams that dissolved concrete and steel alike. In the bowels of the global observation network, Aiko refused to leave her console. She watched the columns sweep across Mumbai, Rio, Lagos, cities immortalized in a sudden roaring silence. She accessed the last functioning uplink and keyed a desperate transmission. To any survivor on Earth, the invaders have achieved orbital supremacy. All defensive networks have been neutralized. This is Dr. Aiko Chen. If you receive this, run, hide, fight if you can. But know this, they came to annihilate. May we find hope in the darkness. Her fingers hovered over the send command. She knew the likelihood of her message reaching anyone was slim. Yet she pressed enter anyway, a small act of defiance against the black tide. And then the flagship revealed itself. Across every broken sensor, a colossal vessel, titanic, and shaded like Livingstone, slid into view. Its surface rippled with bioluminescent veins, as if the ship itself were a creature. It moved with deliberate grace, an apex predator asserting its dominion. From below, 1,000 energy tendrils flickered outward, probing the world for any sign of resistance. Aiko swallowed hard, heart clenched in her chest. She thought of her family, long gone in the onslaught, of the children who would never laugh in playgrounds again, of the world she had dedicated her life to understanding and protecting. And as the flagship's tendrils coalesced into a broad, devastating beam, she whispered, "Brace for extinction." The beam struck the station in a blinding flash. Aiko's vision swam, alarms shrieking, consoles melting into incandescent slag. Then darkness. Snow whipped across the frozen expanse of Siberia, turning the midnight sky into a swirl of white. Sergeant Elena Volkov crouched behind the shattered remains of an abandoned oil rig, her breath forming clouds in the biting air. Around her, 5 guerrillas draped in thermal cloaks adjusted the charges on a supply convoy bound for the nearest alien bastion. Their scavenged railguns were silent now, waiting for Elena's signal. She glanced at Hassan El-Masri, the former geologist whose steady calm had become their lodestar. Hassan's dark eyes reflected the icy glow of the aurora overhead. He kept meticulous maps of the invaders' supply routes etched in his tablet, routes they planned to sever one by one. Tonight's raid was small by design. 2 transports carrying replacement drones and power cores. If they could destroy even one power core... "Eleanor," Hassan whispered, voice muffled beneath his sheepskin hood. "We've spotted more patrols than last intel indicated. 3 walkers, not 2. His finger hovered over a push-to-talk button. Elena exhaled sharply. "Then we adapt. Flares on the east flank. Take the left tunnel. I'll draw their fire." She slung her railgun off her shoulder. "Ready?" The detonations came swift and roaring, painting the ice with sparks of orange. As the alien transports buckled under focused railgun fire, Elena darted into the open magnetic boots, locking her to the rig's steel struts. Plasma arcs screamed past her, but Hassan's team circled behind the transports, laying charges at the engine pods. With a thunderous boom, one core erupted in a cascade of emerald fire, enough to disable half a squadron of drones within 100 kilometers. They melted back into the tundra, hearts pounding and faces cold, but alive, and for the first time, victorious. In the heart of the Amazon, sunlight slanted through dense foliage to illuminate a hidden research bunker. Dr. Rafael Ortega wiped sweat from his brow as he peered into the containment cell, where an alien drone lay immobilized, its bioluminescent veins pulsing erratically. Under ordinary circumstances, the drone's crystalline armor would be impenetrable, but Rafa's team had captured it using gorilla nets lined with adaptive polymers, an invention born of desperation. "Biopsy complete," announced bioengineer Lucia Chen, her gloved hands gently extracting cortical tissue. It's unlike anything on Earth. Neural transmissions are decoded in quanta, not waves. She frowned, injecting a vial of synthesized retrovirus into a sample chamber. This should corrupt their hive link temporarily, if we can ramp up production. Raphael nodded, swallowing hard. We need to distribute it in the atmosphere, but drones patrol the stratosphere 10 times higher than our nozzles reach. He tapped his comm unit. Dispatch the modified drones. Outside, 3 battered surveillance drones, reprogrammed by hacker specialist Malik Reyes, prepared for launch. Their once hostile AI now obeyed Earth's directives. Tonight they would fly high, release the viral payload, and rendezvous at a safe house downriver. If even a fraction of the invader network succumbed, the hive mind would fracture, and with it, their coordination. Lucia monitored the infusion rate. Viral yield at 50%, she reported, eyes gleaming. In 2 hours, we'll have enough for a city's aerosol sprinklers. Raphael allowed himself a weary smile. Then let's save one civilization tonight. Far below the Antarctic ice, in an abandoned research station, a 3rd cell convened. Commander Amara Singh, a marine exobiologist, had salvaged geothermal power to grow genetically modified algae capable of surviving extreme cold. Oxygen production at 93% capacity, she announced through crackling comm channels. This will sustain us if the surface remains toxic for months. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Javier Ortega, no relation to Raphael, laid out their plan to harvest subterranean fungi for hybrid antibodies. We can adapt these to boost human immune systems against xenobiotic pathogens, he said. We don't have months, Amara reminded him, voice firm. Supply lines are collapsing. But if Siberia's raids and Amazon's virus succeed, they will be hitting us next, trying to shut down our bio-oxygen farms. She tapped coordinates into the map. We strike preemptively, under cover of darkness. Small skiffs will breach the ice shelf. Take out the relay boys. Javier nodded, determination shining in his eyes. For Earth, and for those still breathing. Across deserts, mountain caves, and derelict space stations, 14 other cells moved in synchrony, each a fragile ember of resistance. Some sent encrypted messages of success, others begged for supplies they could not spare. But every transmission that reached the global coalition's scattering of command posts carried the same truth: humanity had not yet surrendered. When the blast in Siberia had lit the sky, when the Amazon had begun to bake its first viral dawn, a spark was born across the planet. That spark, the will to defy oblivion, would soon converge on a single desperate objective: to strike at the heart of the swarm, crack its hive mind, and reclaim a shattered world. In hidden bunkers and snowbound camps, the 17 leaders prepared their fragments of hope for the war that would define the fate of Earth. Moonlight filtered through the shattered rose window of Westminster Cathedral, casting fractured patterns on the dust-strewn floor. The 17 leaders gathered in a semicircle around a battered hollow table, its soft azure glow the only light in the cavernous ruin. Each face, weathered by loss and long nights, reflected the weight of the world's last hope. Dr. Aiko Chen stood at the head of the table, her shoulders squared beneath the grey tactical cloak. The neural nexus sits 20 kilometers beneath the Indian Ocean, just off the coast of Madagascar, she began, voice steady. Projections of underwater caverns and pulsing alien conduit lines shimmered in the air above the wreckage. Their hive mind core links every ship in the armada. Sever that connection, and each vessel reverts to an inert drone. Captain Marcus Adler tapped a control pad, zooming in on one massive subterranean vault. Sensors show 3 Guardian platforms, towering pylons that emit electromagnetic pulses. They'll fry our electronics the moment we breach the cavern. Sergeant Elena Volkov cracked her knuckles. "I can lead a demolition team through the western shaft. We'll set shaped charges on the pylons. Give us 5 minutes before collapse." Hassan El-Masri traced a fissure in the rock formation. "Meanwhile, our ECM specialists will hack the pulse at the source. Malik, you have the code?" The wiry hacker nodded, fingers twitching as he imagined lines of alien firmware. Deep beneath the polished cathedral floor, the faint rumble of fusion engines echoed, Astra Nova lowering its stealth field. The frigate's hull, scarred by previous skirmishes, gleamed like burnished obsidian. Inside, Lieutenant Amara Singh checked her biosuits, each sealed panel tested to ensure nothing more toxic than Earth's own atmosphere could seep in. At 02:17 local time, the Astra Nova arrived above the target. Its graviton drives pulsed, lowering the vessel through kilometers of seawater until the cliff face of an abyssal trench loomed beneath. Through its reinforced viewports, the ocean floor appeared littered with discarded alien drones, silent testament to the sabotage campaigns raging above. "Elena, you're up." Marcus's voice crackled over the comm. "All squads, synchronize. Watches, we breach at 02:25. In the corridor, Aiko placed a hand on Rafael Ortega's shoulder. "This virus, once we inject it, there's no turning back. Are you ready?" Rafael's eyes glowed with grim resolve. "I've built every vial myself. Tonight they'll taste their own medicine." Seconds later, airlocks cycled open with a hiss. The 17 ascended through the wreckage of an alien dropshaft, marching single file in low-grav suits. Water sluiced past their boots, but magnetic grips on their soles held firm. Enormous bioluminescent tendrils curled along the walls, arteries of the hive mind itself. At the cavern's heart, 3 pylons bristled with energy nodes. Elena's squad darted forward, drilling charges into reinforced alcoves, while Malik's team streamed virus-laced pulses into the central conduit. Sparks flew as the alien code buckled under Earth's corrupting sequence. "Charges set," Elena whispered. She tapped her comm. "Detonate on my mark." "Uploading virus," Raphael replied, voice tight. Aiko keyed the final commands. Above them, distant tremors rippled through the water as the Guardians faltered. A deafening roar split the cavern as Elena triggered the charges. 2 pylons collapsed in on themselves, their electromagnetic fields collapsing like dying suns. The central hive link flared and hiccuped, then went dark. On the surface, the Astra Nova's sensors flooded with dead signals. Thousands of enemy vessels drifted, systems inert. Elation surged through the bridge crew until the flagship, sensing the loss of its core, reacted with primal fury. At the ocean's surface, a column of black water rode upward as the flagship unleashed its doomsday pulse. Energy tore through the sea, obliterating the Astra Nova's shields in a single cataclysmic wave. Alarms screamed, consoles melted, and Marcus felt the ship shudder like a wounded beast. "Brace!" he roared, wrenching the helm to stabilize. The deck twisted beneath him, blue sparks arced through the compartment. In the chaos, Aiko grabbed Raphael's arm. "Get to the escape pods!" They sprinted toward the aft hatch as the ship groaned. One by one, the 20 pods ejected into the black. Each occupant braced against the violent spin of re-entry as the hull crumpled and fractured. 17 souls emerged from the wreckage, battered but alive, their life pods coasting on inertial dampeners. They watched the Astra Nova, Earth's final frigate, implode in a silent flash of white light. Alone in the pitch-black ocean, the survivors clutched one another. No victory anthem rose from their lips. Only ragged breaths, wet suits, and a promise unspoken but understood. They had struck the heart of the swarm, and though their world lay in ruin, they lived. Above them, the gathering dawn saw thousands of silent ships drift powerless across the sea, and in that quiet aftermath, a fragile ember of triumph glowed, a hope that from these fragments of defiance, humanity's story would endure. The sky above the Indian Ocean burned with dawn's pale light as the 17 life pods bobbed on the glassy surface, survivors clustered inside like driftwood catching a current. Aiko Chen's voice crackled over the emergency comm channel. "Hold tight. Extraction in 2 minutes." Through the viewport, she saw the silhouettes of 3 colossal hulls. Generation ships jury-rigged from scavenged alien vessels, looming like dormant leviathans. Their hulls were scratched and scorched, yet alive with reactor hums, their AI cores now sworn to humanity's cause. One by one, magnetized retrieval arms reached out, clasping the life pods and hauling them into cavernous bays. Inside each arc, corridors lined with bioluminescent panels glowed softly, casting long shadows across the survivors' gaunt faces. Marcus Adler helped Elena Volkov out of her suit, wrapping her in thermal blankets. "We made it," he murmured. Her eyes, still bright with adrenaline, managed a shaky smile. In the central hold, Hassan El-Masri and Malik Reyes oversaw the transfer of cargo crates, DNA samples, seed vaults, cultural archives encoded in crystalline data slates. Rafael Ortega and Lucia Chen escorted the last of the viral amplifiers, now recalibrated to regulate the Ark's AI, ensuring no remnant of the hive mind could corrupt their systems. Each trunk jolted with the weight of humanity's legacy. Art, literature, genome sequences, engineering schematics, every melody ever recorded. Commander Amara Singh and Lieutenant Javier Ortega checked the life support modules in Hatch C. "Oxygen levels stabilizing at 98%, Amara reported. Javier's augmented crop cultures, hybrid algae that thrived on minimal light, lined the hydroponic bays, promising fresh air and nourishment. Children, the youngest of Earth's survivors, pressed their small hands against observation ports, wide-eyed at the alien stars beyond. For many, this was the first sky they had ever seen. As Proxima Centauri rose on the forward astrogation screens, the Ark's AI, christened Gaia, projected a holographic briefing. Estimated transit time, 96 years at 0.5 C. The cold precision of the projection belied the warmth in the room. Aiko stood on a dais before the crew, her silhouette framed by the star map. "We will live and die here together. Our children and grandchildren will be the ones to step onto new soil. We carry Earth in our veins and our memories in every heartbeat." The first weeks passed in a blur of repairs and calibrations. Elena led security drills to keep the Ark's corridors safe. Marcus trained volunteer pilots on the remaining fighters, now guardians of the fleet. Hassan taught geology in the educational bays, using holographic terrain simulations of Proxima b. Raphael and Lucia labored in labs to perfect the biofilters that would cleanse the planet's atmosphere for human breathing. Each task bound them tighter, forging a new society in microcosm. Back on Earth, the planet continued its silent drift beneath debris-choked skies, a pale marble scarred by defeat. But aboard the Arcs, life pulsed anew. The first birth, a daughter named Hope, was celebrated in the communal hall with songs salvaged from New Shanghai's street vendors and Berlin's bunker choirs. Gaia recorded the moment, etching it into the Ark's memory as the genesis of humanity's second chapter. Decades slipped by. Children raised among the stars grew into engineers, biologists, poets. They studied ancient Earth history as both myth and warning. How 9,900 ships had descended in fury, how 17 souls had turned the tide, and how the price of survival was the loss of a world. In their hearts burned the determination to honor their ancestors by forging a future unmarred by hubris or war. Approaching Proxima Centauri b, the fleet's scanners lit up with data. Signs of water, vapor in the atmosphere, vast mineral plains beneath wisps of cloud. Aiko, now aged and frail, stood before the viewport of the lead arc. Beside her, Marcus, lines of silver in his hair, placed a weathered hand on her shoulder. "We're home soon," he said softly. She nodded, tears reflecting starlight. "Home, yes, but not as we knew it." In the command chamber, Gaia initiated the orbital insertion sequence. In unison, the three arcs fired their deceleration drives, the hush of space pierced by a pulsing hum of fusion coils. As the fleet slid into Proxima's embrace, every soul aboard watched the glowing orb grow larger, blue-green promise against a black sky. Aiko raised her voice, steady and proud. "We escaped. We remember. We will endure." And so, from the ashes of Earth's greatest catastrophe, humanity embarked on its boldest voyage, bearing seeds of every kind, echoes of every song, and the unbreakable spark of hope that despite all odds, life finds a way.